Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the counselor's office. Mr. Gaming Counselor, and we are back with another episode of The Destiny Player Base Knows the Game Better Than the Creators of the Games Themselves Do. That's right. Now, I know you're probably wondering, what exactly am I talking about? Well, recently, if you've been living under a rock in Bikini Bottom, or you've been avoiding Destiny like Bungie avoids making a well-functioning game, there has been a lot of drama about perk weighing, or hashtag Weightgate, as it's being called. The idea that Bungie, the developer of Destiny, is making specific perks on guns harder to get, whether it was intentional or not intentional. For instance, a favorite perk of the community has been bait and switch. Now, this specific perk does 30% increased damage. The logic is that Bungie either intentionally or unintentionally programmed the perk to drop less frequently on guns that have that perk in the perk pool. This entire situation had led to many in the community delivering data plots and many theories about whether or not Bungie is actually weighing perks. Now, how exactly did this begin? You may be wondering, how did an entire player base suddenly become data analysts with PhDs? Well, I think we should look back and see where some of the core issues began and how it led to the point that we are now. Let's start with Destiny's expansion, Witch Queen. You see, in this expansion, Bungie introduced what we now call as crafting. It was a way of getting new access to guns. It allowed players to craft a perfect god roll with 0 random number generators, or RNG, with 0 chance of getting a non-god roll weapon. This was very favorable to the casuals and new player base of the community, and at first it was accepted by the veteran players as well. Now, fast forward several years, and crafting is everywhere. And many players now do not like it, as it seems to replace the chase of weapons, as the point of a looter shooter is looting and the chase of those weapons. Now, I'm not trying to open up a can of worms here by starting a debate whether crafting is good or is it bad. I have my own feelings about it. I just wanted to lay the foundation, as this is essentially where the story begins with the perk drama. So fast forward to the most recent release of episode Revenant, Bungie's next content block, and with this new episode came a change to the typical seasonal model that Bungie has normally done. Normally in seasons, Bungie releases weapons that are craftable, but with this episode, all seasonal / episode weapons are not craftable. Sorry, I know it's a little confusing trying to say episode and seasonal. Bungie tried selling episodes as something different from seasons, but episodes are just seasons. Even Bungie has finally started calling episodes seasons. See, this is the kind of incompetence I'm talking about with Bungie. They are consistently inconsistent, and it gives me a headache trying to explain to people this crap. So back to the topic. Bungie scraps the crafting idea for this season, and at least half the community is pissed off. I mean, you can see the tears of anger coming down people's faces, or at least I can imagine that based on some of the comments and videos and Twitter. It was like Bungie had committed a mortal sin by removing crafting. So what does this have to do with hashtag Weightgate or weighing perk drops? Well, alongside the new season, Bungie released a separate product called a dungeon. The name of the dungeon is Vesper's Host. Pretty fun dungeon, 8 out of 10. Would recommend. With this dungeon, a grenade launcher called VS Chill Inhibitor has become one of the most overhyped guns we've recently had.
How could you say something so controversial yet so brave?
I'm not kidding. Whoa. Mr. Gaming Counselor, what do you mean it's the most overhyped gun? How could you say something so controversial? I don't know why it's on New Jersey. We're going with it. Boppity boppity boo. I mean, in a pocket, the grenade launcher is S tier. But for more context, Bungie never nerfed anything about the previous S-tier grenade launchers. So if you already had an S-tier grenade launcher, there is no reason to hyper-focus on this new one. Don't believe me if you don't want to, but even Enroar's video, which I'll show a picture, it's like 10 to 16% increase of damage, which is very negligible difference. It's very negligible. Like you're not going to be breaking the bank if you don't farm for it. If you want to get that extra 10%, sure, but it's very overhyped. But back to the daily program. This grenade launcher is so overhyped that everyone was desperate to get their hands on a 5 out of 5 god roll. A combination of 2 perks, Envious Arsenal and Bait and Switch. It was so coveted, so desired, and still, by the way, it's still very coveted, that people farmed the nuts off the dungeon. At the same time, there was a bug in the encounter of the dungeon that would be allowing people to farm it quicker. The main encounter has a mechanic that requires you to dunk 3 different bombs. Well, the bug essentially allows you to duplicate those bombs so you can immediately dunk all 3 different bombs in the 3 different boxes, and then the encounter is over. You could beat the encounter in 3 minutes. Yeah, that's fast. With an easy to do cheese, and with 1 drop every 3 to 5 minutes, people were farming a lot. Now, let's get back to our crafting people out there. Remember what I said about people being furious? Well, with crafting being removed this episode/season, the dungeon also doesn't provide crafting. Granted, dungeons generally don't do crafted weapons, but many people felt really upset knowing that there were 2 different activities now this episode that no longer don't include any kind of crafting. And for the fact that they can't actually craft those weapons, they have to actually spend time farming. There's a lot of weapons now that they have to farm. So all those crafties out there who don't like RNG or putting their farmer hats on started complaining about the drop rates. And this gained traction to the point where a user on Twitter named Spark posted a binomial test showing the perks Envious Arsenal and Bait and Switch were weighted so they were less likely to drop. This exploded into a firestorm. The last time I saw an entire community explode was when Diablo 4 Season 1 came out and the devs nerfed all the classes and didn't provide any buffs. Everyone who hated RNG and loved crafting immediately picked up a pitchfork and went to criticize Bungie for weighing perks. In fact, it got to the point that even veterans started believing perks were weighted, and generally most people believed that Bungie was doing it intentionally. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why? Why would Bungie do this? Why would people believe Bungie would do this intentionally? History. Context. Historically, Bungie has done plenty of scummy and disingenuous things. They've been misleading and even gaslighted the whole community. A past example of lying was back in year 1 of Destiny 2. Bungie throttled XP gains and decreased the chance of getting bright dust engrams. Think of these as loot box for cosmetics. Bungie was caught lying and denying it, but eventually they finally came out and admitted what they were doing. Well, let's fast forward, right? That was just year 1. And what about now? Surely they aren't misleading now. Lightfall was the most overhyped expansion by Bungie. Bungie even going on to make it seem like it was the Infinity War of the Destiny series. And it was more like Quantum Mania. Though I would say Quantum Mania had more effort put into it than Lightfall and better script. I know it's a really low bar to put. Bungie has a skill with social media and advertising to make things look good, to make you believe one thing, and they deliver an entire different experience. Even more so, remember when I talked to you about episodes? Well, those were created by Bungie to address player criticism that seasons were boring, formulaic, and just plain generic. So they specifically addressed the community and said episodes were supposed to be the next evolution of seasons and was supposed to shake the framework. Episode 1 was a colossal failure, leading to over 90% player base leaving because Bungie was misleading and it was not what Bungie had advertised. episodes were just slightly longer seasons. So when people heard about Bungie weighing perks and making them harder to get, the community generally believed it, for good reason. This gained so much traction that very quickly Bungie's Destiny 2 team account responded to the data graph directly. DMG, one of the community managers, tried to put out fires as well, but indeed ended up starting more fires as he tried to gaslight the community by saying, quote, "One of my biggest pet peeves is the gaming spaces. The devs are lying to us. During my time in game dev, I haven't had a single conversation with a designer, tester, marketeer, or other that even insinuated that misleading lying to player would be a good idea."
And it's our biggest one yet. It is 4 times the size of Fallout 4. And this time it features all new rendering, lighting, and landscape technology. It allows us to have 16 times the detail and even view distant weather systems across the map. I read on the internet that our games have had a few bugs. All of this just works. I'm not kidding.
I'm sorry, but as someone who has lived through years of scandals, lawsuits, and other scummy video game tactics, I think I can safely say DMG is full of bullshit. And immediately is someone I would never trust. Let's not act like video games, the video game industry isn't full of games that are deceptive or have been deceptive. Not only is this statement a fallacy, it directly gaslights the community as if Bungie hasn't been found out for its own scummy practices, let alone how the company treats its own workers. Are we gonna ignore the fact that Bungie literally vaulted years of paid content? That's right. How scummy do you have to be and misleading that it was for the benefit of the game? It's going to be okay for the consumer. And they clearly made it seem like it was supposed to be a good thing. But as we all know, the vaulting ended up dramatically hurting the game. Like, is it really crazy to think a video game company would do some deceptive practices for its own benefit? No, it happens all the time. It has happened for so many years that finally, after years, we're starting to get laws put in place to protect video game consumers. This is one of the many reasons no one trusts Bungie, which is exactly what has happened when Bungie gave their first statement about the whole perk weighing scandal. Bungie responded saying that they had looked into it, that they had talked to their communities, their sandbox team about perk weighing and found out, no, it doesn't exist. I imagine DMG or one of the other community managers walking up to one of the devs working in the sandbox team and casually asking about the problem. So, yeah, is there a thing called perk weighing? What do you mean? Oh, I'm just saying, you know, where we're causing perks to drop at a low chance, you know, to increase retention? Probably not. I'm too lazy to program it. It wasn't me. Oh, hell yeah. Good. I'll just tell them that it doesn't exist. And trust me, bro, we totally did a deep dive and checked that out before responding. But as I said before, no one trusts this company. I mean, you have to stop and think how many companies have players who actively distrust anything they say, to the point where if the company openly responds to a situation and no one believes them. That's what's going on with Bungie right now. In fact, Bungie coming out and saying there was no perk weighing caused the Destiny 2 community to put on their thinking hats, go back to school, get their PhD in statistics and other data related bullshit. I have never seen a community respond to a video game developer with, okay, bet, hold my beer, I'll prove you wrong. To the extent that the Destiny community has. After Bungie's statement, a whole new theory from a Twitter user named Vendetta came out and was called the perk proximity theory. The entire Destiny collective joined forces in one day to achieve what Bungie could never do in years. When I say the Destiny community is more capable and efficient at figuring out Destiny 2 than the game developers themselves who developed Destiny 2, the game. I literally mean it. Massive community members who are known for collecting data, usually damage numbers. These names include Mossy Max, a huge member of the community with a good reputation, and another Nemo, it's like Nemo but with a W, who wrote a 10-page analysis paper you can read if you're curious. I'm not going to read 10 pages of it, but essentially Nemo helped frame the theory, which implies that perks have a lower chance to drop together if they're far away from each other in Destiny 2's application program interface, or API. It was like the scene from Black Ops 1.
The numbers, basically. What do they mean?
Not only did Moxie start his own data collection, but it became a widespread community effort across the internet. Twitter quite literally had hellfire raining down as everyone is posting their findings. To the point that even LightGG, which was being used as a source of all this data, came out and posted all the data points based on the API and perks. The findings were damning. There was a very noticeable trend and pattern that was found. We're not talking about one table. We're talking about hundreds of trends. Even, in fact, even now, people are finding that there's not just guns from recent times or months ago, but even years with these patterns. Going back to the gun that started this whole rabbit hole, VS Chill Inhibitor, the most overhyped, sought-after gun. Based on the information we have now that was discovered, if you did 3 minutes on the first encounter in the dungeon, farming it would take 204 days of farming for a 5 out of 5 chill inhibitor. I'm pretty sure Bungie wants retention, but 204 days to get a god roll sounds like something so stupid wouldn't actually do intentionally. Mostly because knowing Bungie's track record, the gun will probably be nerfed in 204 days, so the desire will be already gone. Funny enough, Bungie was very silent until late, and then finally responded, quote, "We are now investigating a potential issue with our code or how RNG perks are generated. Many thanks to all the players who have been contributing to the data collection across the community. The data has been monumentally helpful with our investigation, and we are currently working on internal simulations to confirm your findings." So they immediately responded earlier in the morning, denying a problem with perks, but didn't bother to actually check. But after all the damning evidence comes out, suddenly they actually start an investigation. Isn't that crazy how the community does a better job at Bungie's job than Bungie does itself? Like, how many game studios force their community to become mathematicians in order to solve a problem in a game they didn't even make? What's funny is the LightGG source, the website, is free and open for everyone. It directly pulls from Bungie's own API. So the data was out in plain sight, but no one once thought to check. No one in Bungie plays their own game with a decent amount of time to notice, yeah, you know what, the RNG is kind of bad. Gee, I wonder why. A bug in the code has existed for who knows how long, and it takes a community of Stockholm Syndrome patients to do a job of $1 billion company with over 10 years of experience with the same type of looter shooter. Even DMG, the community manager, tried to push out, well, mistakes happen, are bad. But when your game is increasingly becoming buggy, when every content that is pushed out is filled with bugs or even game-breaking softlocks, it becomes more than just a simple mistake. We are talking about a company with 10 years in the franchise, 10 years, and things are increasingly getting worse. When people first talked about the perk weight scandal, most people believed it was intentional. Then Bungie said, nope, it's not. But with this new theory, which is confirmed, came with this new theory, people came out and said it was intentional as well. You want my honest opinion? Truly, want my honest opinion? I don't think it's intentional. That gives Bungie too much credit. That implies they are capable of actually doing a good enough job to code something and have it work correctly. I wholeheartedly believe this is unintentional and solely due to Bungie's incompetence. For example, the new dungeon, Vesper's Host, Bungie specifically tried to target program one of the boss fights to take less ignition damage. To simplify the explanation, it's an ability that causes target to explode and take damage. Simplified, very dumb, but there it is. But when they coded that into the game, it ended up coding the entire game that way instead of one boss. Also, the same boss is already buggy to the point that it can soft lock players from completing the activity. The previous season, episode Echoes, had an exotic mission that released, and it was so buggy that people couldn't finish the fight on the last boss and had to restart in order to complete it. It would soft lock people in the middle, not only because of that, but different mechanics would bug out that would soft lock players. Also, people could not even access the mission had they not finished Act 1 and Act 2, so people were completely locked out from playing the mission. The final shape brought Salvation's Edge, the raid. And with the raid came a raid memento, which is a shader for your weapon, which can only be attained by two ways. One, running a raid without wiping, or two, completing the master mode from beginning to end. Both slightly challenging. However, it's been bugged since the raid launched in February. It's constantly a problem that people are not receiving the most basic rewards because Bungie is incompetent at fixing things, but instead they are literal grandmasters at breaking the game. No one can kill Destiny more than Bungie can, both in its player base and its literal game. These are just some of the most recent blunders from Bungie, but trust me when I say it goes deeper when it comes to the incompetence of Bungie as a developer. There is a reason that Sony came out and quite literally told them to get their head out of their asses. I have never seen more of a reason for Sony to take over than the most recent times. I wholeheartedly expect the Destiny experience to become more of a hot mess, which sucks because I love the game. Just like I love Halo, but I hate 343. The game is great, the driver is ass. Luckily for Bungie, there are plenty of high school dropouts who support them regardless. There were so many people coming out mocking people for doing all this research and analysis and saying it's all a conspiracy and people are never happy. Here's a lovely example from JM McSwagger. OMFG people, of course better perks will have a lower drop chance. That's how an MMO looter shooter RNG system works. You all literally bullied a company into admitting to something that doesn't exist? Hope you feel good about yourselves. You disgusting excuse for human beings. If you ever wonder who I mean when I call people Bungie bots or Bungie ball fondlers or people who are mentally challenged, these are the people right here. Another tweet from Cheese Team. You people don't understand data sets or randomness is the actual answer, LOL. I'm sorry, I have no R-word policy, but people who use you don't know data as a counter argument are the epitome of mentally challenged, especially people in my own comments. The community has proven that this data that they're showing is true, so you're a dumbass. Secondly, personally, I have a master's degree in psychology. I had to take college math, and I even took AP statistics. I'm both equally smarter and stupider than you. Smarter because I literally have more intelligence than you for multiple reasons, but I'm also stupider because I'm the dumbass with student debt. Now, moving on to this next tweet. I personally love this next one from Tavius Plays. Be a shame if Bungie wanted us to try and test other roles instead of just going for the God role. YouTubers saying we need to get. Maybe we find some cool combinations. Who am I? Yeah, who the f are you? I love how there are some really stupid people in the Destiny 2 community whose argument for anything is, well, it's good because it forces people to do X, Y, and Z, which makes me wonder if they still live with their mother and have to have their moms tell them what to do in order to do something. Like, seriously, if you need a system to force you to play a different way, that's a you issue. The funny thing is that Bungie has literally come out and confirmed that there's an actual issue with the perk combinations. And yet people will still continue to die on the hill that people are making crap up. You can't fix stupid people. Bungie literally came out and tweeted, our team has been working through community-sourced data and internal simulation to reproduce reported issues regarding legendary perk RNG. After investigation, we can confirm an issue has been found in our code where some random perk combinations are harder to earn per legendary weapon perk set. In some cases, desirable perk combinations are a bit easier to earn as well. While we inspected our content and confirmed each perk is weighted equally, an issue in perk pool RNG is the culprit here. Bungie has confirmed this. So when you look at previous comments and Twitter replies to people mocking others for research into the issue, remember to tell them to go back to high school, apologize to their former teachers, and get off the internet so they can gain some brain cells. A small part of the community is giving praise to Bungie for fixing these issues and being transparent. But honestly, I don't think they deserve the praise. Sure, in a pocket where it's their first mistake in a while, I can see praising them, but quite literally, they denied the issue the first time and didn't bother to check. It wasn't even after the community, or it wasn't until after the community brought undeniable evidence that they finally came out and did an investigation. Like, I'm not applauding someone at a restaurant who messed up my meal, but says there's nothing wrong with it. But after I point out where the problem is, then they fix the meal. I'm not going to give them praise, let alone if this restaurant has a history of making mistakes. I'm not giving them any praise for doing the bare minimum. Granted, most intelligent people would move on to a different restaurant, which is what a lot of people have done with Destiny. But most of the people still playing have Stockholm Syndrome, me being one of them. I'm not praising incompetence anymore. I'm not praising under-delivery. I know Bungie said they wanted the company to beware of over-delivery. You're setting bad expectations, blah, blah, blah. But damn, I didn't know a functional game with minimal bugs was over-delivering. But I guess most modern games now come as an early access beta where all the players are free testers. Though I didn't realize Destiny was on, since it's on like a 6th or 7th year, was still considered a beta that need testing. But here we are, bugs and all. I know there are people out there who are going to try and twist this and say that it's complaining and we're never happy, blah, 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 blah. Listen, out of all the complaints, out of all the criticisms, there has never been more of a fair criticism in the world of consumerism than expecting to buy a product that functions and works without constantly having issues. It does seem like the issue will eventually be solved. We have an official date of November 5th. We can get an emblem that looks like it took 2 seconds to make and a hint that we might get more drops. I'm not sure. Bungie came out, or DMG came out and said, nah, we ain't getting perk focusing, which makes me wonder why that can't be a thing for people who don't like RNG. But like I said, most of the things it seems like maybe we'll get double drops. I don't know. It's not really explained well, but okay. In all, it's crazy that one gun caused the entire Destiny community to solve an issue Bungie couldn't do themselves. To be honest, if I was Bungie, I'd offer these people like Mossy and Neo a job and have them focus completely on going through the numbers. These people are the people you need in your company who will actually figure crap out. Seriously. But I don't believe things are going to get any better with Bungie. That's just my theory. A game theory. I mean, really is a game theory, perk, proximity theory. You know, screw you guys. It was funny. Until next time, I want you guys to go out there and play games that aren't going to bug out or soft lock you or gaslight you. Go out there and play those games you enjoy where the company actually respects you. Until next time, game out. Huzzah.